Yes, I am.
I'll see you. Have a good night.
You too. Take care. But when is she coming back?
Beta's back tonight, and then Laylee will be back in about 6 weeks.
Listen, I'm going to go to Haifa and then to Europe. Would you kiss Lily for me? And I'm
Absolutely.
sorry I'll miss her.
All right.
Okay then.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Down there, isn't it? It's not started yet, has it? Let's say the loss. Hang on the bottom. Just, it's a sign in up there. Go bigger on the. Careful, you just cancel there, that little cross. It doesn't start till 7, does it? Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. For the Baha'is, tonight is the 12th night of Rizwan, and many people might not come, but it's wonderful that you're here, and others can look at our YouTube and get to know how Masud will do one of his wonders. Hi, Masud. Masud, your voice is not. Dr. Etaman. Dr. Etaman, welcome. Dana, welcome. Tanya, Firas, Patricia. We're having problem with Masud. Hi. Masud, our friend, called from the Democratic Republic of Congo. Hi, Lana. Hi, Barbara. Good to see you after such a long time. Lovely to see you.
Allahu Akbar. Hello.
Ah,
Thank you for this marvelous weekly fireside deepening. Thank you.
thank you for your encouragement, and I would love to invite you. I'm going away in 2 weeks and will be back in August. So I will be in touch, so you would kindly give us a nice fireside. I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. I will consider.
Hi, Francis. How are you? Are you hearing us, Francis? Masud, I suggest you get out and come in again, because it's like yeah, thank you. Hi, Sean. Welcome, welcome. How are you? Farid Jun, welcome.
Allah happy Rizwan. We just back from Baha'i House of Worship. It was beautiful 12-day celebration of the Baha'i faith. It was wonderful.
How wonderful. Thank you for sharing it. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much.
Allah.
Allah Akbar. Francis, can you hear us? Is everything okay?
Yeah, thank you. I have muted the podcast, which is working very well. Thank you.
I'm so glad, Francis. Happy Rizwan. Thank you for joining us every week. I really
Happy
appreciate it.
Rizwan to you too.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much. Thank you. Mr. Mishkin, from where are you joining us?
I am from Orange County, California.
California. Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, Hugh. How are you? Good to see you. Hi, Isabel.
Hello.
Hi.
Happy to be here.
Happy Rizwan, everyone.
Hi, Isabel.
Hi, Farouz, can you hear me?
Hi, Masud. Yeah, you came back to the earth. You were, yeah. How
Happy
lovely.
Rizwan, everyone.
Happy Rizwan to you all. iPhone Saudi, welcome. Where are you? Where are you joining us from? Oh, okay. Gary, welcome. Lovely to see you, Gary.
Glorious was Rizwan, everyone. Happy to see
Happy
you too.
Rizwan.
I will not put you on the spot, but I have a message for you, Farouz.
Yes.
You were supposed to send me something, but I'll deal with that at another time. We're preparing.
Yeah.
We'll deal with it
Gary,
another time.
Shame on me. I know what you're expecting. I have not been able to do that.
I'm teasing you.
Okay.
I'm teasing you.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I know you will.
But you know, I'm going away in a few weeks, and life has been very hectic. But I'll be in touch with you.
Okay. Thank you.
Gary, you're the best. And
Glorious Rizwan.
Glorious Rizwan to you too. Thank you, Gary. Gary, will you be here to say prayers at the outset?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Hi, Brenda. Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Farouz. Lovely to see you and everyone else.
Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you all. Masud, we will wait for about 2-3 more minutes.
Sure.
Tonight is the 12th night of Rizwan, and a lot of people are attending their own gatherings, but you know, you are a busy man. Thank you for accepting it. I really, really appreciate it.
Farouz, when you call or when you reach out and you contact me, I try to respond. So I'm happy to be here.
Oh, Masud, that's wonderful. Masud is not only one of our best speakers, but a friend, a wonderful friend. Masud, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. You look good, Farouz, too. I'm glad you seem to be sounding better and feeling better than you did the last time I saw you.
That's right. I totally agree with you, and I'm grateful. And Masood, next time you pass by Toronto, you'll have a wonderful Persian dinner at my home.
I am always open to getting some Persian soul food. I'm always down for that. People they ask me periodically why you became a Baha'i. Was it the writings, the effulgence of Baha'u'llah's poetry? I say no, it was that Persian soul food. So there you
You
go.
see? That's lovely. That's lovely. We are about 32. Usually we are double this number by now, but hi Sharon, lovely to see you. How are you?
I am doing just fine. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Paul Masud. I haven't seen you since ABS, my brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Mercy holds me, brother. Cannot and will not complain.
I heard that. I heard that.
Sir.
Sharon, would you say a prayer if you're a Baha'i or not? Doesn't matter, a prayer. Would you do a prayer? Thank you. So Sharon will go first, and after that, we'll have Mr. Gary Bullard, who join our firesides and make our fireside to glow. Yes. So Sharon, dear.
This prayer is for gatherings such as this. Oh my God, verily these servants are turning to thee, supplicating thy kingdom of mercy. Verily they are attracted by the holiness and set aglow with the fire of thy love, seeking confirmation from thy wondrous kingdom and hoping for attainment in thy heavenly realm. Verily, they long for the descent of thy bestowal, desiring illumination from the sun of reality. O Lord, make them radiant lamps, merciful signs, fruitful trees, and shining stars. May they come forth in thy service and be connected with thee by the bonds and ties of thy love, longing for the lights of thy favor. O Lord, make them signs of guidance, standards of thine immortal kingdom, waves of the sea of thy mercy, mirrors of the light of thy majesty. Verily, thou art the generous. Verily, thou art the merciful. Verily, thou art the precious, the beloved. Abdul Baha.
Aloha, aloha, aloha. Aloha, aloha, aloha. Aloha, aloha. Oh God, Make me a hollow reed, from which the pith of self hath been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Oh God, make me a hollow reed, from which the pith of self hath been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love may flow to others. Ya
Thank you. Thank you for this beautiful start. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Gary, as always. Welcome, Masud John. Welcome, welcome. Uh, I will I will introduce Masud to us tonight. Tonight is the 12th night of the Festival of Rezvan, and the Baha'is celebrate that all over the world. But that was the only time that Masud had time. So we invited him here. Of course, the friends will see his video because we will be recording this. Masud Ashley Olufani is an Atlanta-based actor, mixed media artist, and writer whose studio practice is rooted in the discipline of sculpture. A graduate of Morehouse College and the Savannah College of Art and Design. Masud has exhibited his work in shows internationally. As an actor, he has appeared in numerous television shows and is the co-host of Undaunted, a podcast series that centers the work of social change makers. Thank you, Masud, for accepting to be here tonight. I appreciate it. Happy Rizwan to you. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you, Farouz. It's, as I said, it's always good to see you. And I've been in this space now. I guess this is the third time I've been in this space, and it's always a lot of fun to be here and to share and have conversation. It's basically what I love about this engagement is this kind of mutual give and take between whoever is facilitating the dialogue and the participants, those who are present. So I view these as mutual sharings, and perhaps my role in this, the next few minutes will just be as a facilitator to hope spark some dialogue, and and we can engage in some, hopefully some rich and engaging conversation. Happy Rizwan to everybody. Incredible time. Of course, this is the period when Baha'u'llah spent time in the Garden of Rizwan and declared his mission to the entire world. It is profoundly impactful because it unleashes God's new revelation to humanity with this proclamation and announcement. And so it is the period symbolically of new beginnings, a period of restoration and renewal, the beginning awakening of a humanity that was in a deep sense of slumber and confined in its own kind of self-imposed adolescence. And here comes God's revelation to awaken us to a new way of being in the world, to revive us and resuscitate us, and to unleash and awaken those spiritual capacities within us. So it's in some sense perhaps appropriate that I'm going to speak about art and art making tonight and my practice as an artist, because I view art as not just a kind of engagement that one has with a particular way of creating, be that as a visual artist, as a writer, as an actor, as a musician, right? But also as a kind of spiritual alchemy, a magic, if you will. Artistry, creativity has the power to unleash and awaken the soul. The Baha'i writings say that art, in particular, in this passage, it talks about music particularly, but Abdul Baha, of course, is talking about all the creative arts when he says that art, our music, is a ladder for the soul. And a ladder takes us from one plane of existence to another. It takes us from one place to another, right? That's its job. We ascend when we climb the ladder. And in the same way, art has that capacity to help us to ascend to a new level of understanding, a new level of awareness. You know, that's its power, that's its majesty. So I thought I would speak a little bit about that tonight, and I'm going to try and go through this PowerPoint presentation as much as I can. I'll try and get through the whole thing. That means I'll be pressing forward a bit. If you have any questions about anything that I covered, please feel free to ask me questions at the end, and hopefully everything that I share is clear. But I know sometimes even when you're trying to be clear, some things can get lost in the mix. So please feel free to ask me about anything, and I'm happy to respond as best I can. So Farouz, do I have the ability to share screen?
Absolutely. You are a co-host, and
Oh.
even more than that.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll settle as for co-host right now. That'd be great. All right, let's see if we can do this. Okay. All right, I'm trying to share screen. There we go. Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay. Don't want that. Okay, hold on one second. All right, so let's see here. Can everybody see this?
I can
Yes.
see it. I don't know about others. I can see it.
Well, if you can
Yes.
see it,
Yes.
everybody can see it.
That's right.
So the title of this talk, or this conversation, it's a better way of looking at it, is You Can't Cage My Strut, which is inspired in part by figures that I've grown up admiring, people in particular like Muhammad Ali, who was considered to be very brash and forward-speaking during his day. In particular, for a man of African descent, he was considered to be arrogant because during that time, the 1960s, early 1970s, Black men of African descent, were basically confined to a role of docility and to being erased and invisibilized by society, meaning that society didn't have a space for men who were outspoken, men who were confident about what they did if they were of African descent. So You Can't Cage My Strut is in some ways a kind of poetic kind of nod to Muhammad Ali, people like Muhammad Ali, men who stood up in spite of society's expectations and proclaimed a kind of self-affirming redetermination of themselves, a kind of they stood up and tried to redefine the image of what it was to be a person of African descent within the American society. It also has references to, in particular, the rooster. In African cosmology, in African mythology, the rooster is a metaphor for new beginnings across various parts of Africa. It also speaks to resilience, the ability to pivot and endure difficult circumstances. And of course, we find that evident throughout humanity, that different communities living under adverse circumstances find ways to pivot, find ways to adapt, find ways to be imaginatively creative, to transcend their circumstances and endure, not only endure, but also to thrive under those circumstances. The quote is from a great artist, Maria Magdalena Campos Pons, who is an Afro-Cuban artist based in Nashville, Tennessee. She just recently won the MacArthur Genius Grant, which one of our Baha'i friends, our own Ruha Benjamin, just recently won. A professor at Princeton University, which is an $800,000 unrestricted grant for artists and writers and researchers to use at their discretion. This quote reads, "We keep dreaming and producing. We are a historical miracle, people who maintain tradition, resilience, and possibility in places in which the circumstances are difficult." So we keep dreaming and keep producing in spaces where things are difficult. As an artist, I work with a set of principles, and I'm big into quotes, as you noticed from the first slide. I love quotes, they inspire me. This one at the top of this slide from Toni Morrison, "All water has a perfect memory and is forever trying to get back to where it was." So water carries within it this capacity to remember where it has been. And in the physiology of water, we see that echo of where it has been. And then as it's formulating into something new, it is also dragging remnants of who it was, which also informs what it is to become. So water has this perfect memory. Guiding principles for me are informed by my own study of religious practices and also particularly the Baha'i faith, and also other religious practices, including Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, also Native American traditions, West African spiritual systems as well. So I work with these principles in mind, and they include things like courage, faith, truthfulness, vision, purpose, reverence, service, experimentation, a willingness to fail, and the pursuit of excellence. Just to note, number 3, truthfulness within the context of the Baha'i faith is considered to be the foundation of all principles. Baha'u'llah talks about, the importance of truthfulness, how nothing is possible unless we are truthful. So I can perform reverence, but if I don't feel reverence in my heart, if it's not reflected in my inner being, I have some work to do in terms of embodying that. I can perform courage, but if I don't feel courageous within my soul and my spirit, in spite of fear, then I have some work to do to bridge the gap between what I am expressing externally with how it aligns or does not align internally. So all of these principles are things that I think about when I'm working. Touchstones of inspiration, travels to West Africa. 2022, I was fortunate enough to go to Sierra Leone after I traced my ancestry to the Mende people. And then after that, I took a 5-day trip on my own because in Sierra Leone, I had traveled with about 34 other people of the African diaspora who had traced their ancestry to the Mende people. And we were all going back for the same purpose, to reconnect to our ancestral roots. These pictures are from Ghana, the 5-day voyage after Sierra Leone. On the left is me standing in the river Asamansu, which is called the Last Bath. This is about an hour's drive from the coast of Ghana. And this is the place where enslaved Africans, when they were marched from the interior of Africa around the area of Ghana, from the interior of Ghana, once they were captured, they were marched here. They were chained one to the other, and they were bathed in this river basin. And they were bathed and then rubbed, their body was rubbed with palm oil so that they would look healthy before they were sold in the slave market on the coast, in the castles, and then shipped off to the various colonies in the Western Hemisphere. On the right, you see Elmina Castle. That is the last door. That is me looking through the door of no return. It is the point where enslaved Africans were taken from the castle. It was their the last point in which their feet touched, West Africa, and then they were placed on the ships and then sailed across the Atlantic. So this is this is a sacred space for people of African descent to go to. It's a space of prayer, a space of mourning, and a space of release and contemplation and deep thought. You notice the door is quite small. That was architecturally intended to control and regulate the number of bodies that could go through that space at one time, to prevent the opportunities for revolt by enslaved Africans who were always looking for ways to gain their freedom, even as they were chained and forcibly exported to the Western Hemisphere. Points of inspiration continue. The top left-hand side, you'll see rice from Sierra Leone, from the Mende people, which is my ancestral group, my ancestral tribe. Then you see beneath it tamarind, which is a fruit that's grown on trees throughout Western Africa and other parts of Africa. It's used in a drink called bisap, which is very popular, very sweet, one of my favorite drinks in the world. And you see a couple of women who are, making food staples. They're turning it into food that can be consumed by the community. Many places around the world, this is considered to be women's work, but I think it's something magical, something majestic, something that is not to be overlooked. Because if these extraordinary women don't do this work, the village does not survive. So there is something quite remarkable in this daily exercise of making food for the community so that they can sustain the community. And there's a rhythm to this. These women pound into these bowls rhythmically. And it's almost like the sound of the drum when you listen to them, this rhythmic pounding. And they've got it so calibrated so beautifully that as soon as one strikes and then releases, the next one allows her shaft to fall into the bowl as well. So this constant, beautiful rhythm that sounds like the drum almost. On the right, you see a fishing vessel off Cape Coast in Ghana. This one is not being used. Obviously, it's laid inert. Nobody is using it. It's abandoned. But they carve these from a single tree trunk, and these are the fishing boats that that go out in the morning, and they pull the nets in the afternoon when it's time for them to come back. Beneath this image, you see Sankofa, which is part of the Adinkra symbols in Ghana, which is a cosmology of symbols that have different meanings. This one means looking back to look ahead. There is something very profound about, in order to understand our present and to know where we're going, we have to know where we have been. And of course, the Baha'i faith is consistent with this principle because there's this constant oscillation and analysis of the history of the Baha'i faith, and then also a looking ahead, learning from the lessons of the past, right? Understanding where we are as a result of those lessons and those learnings, and then charting a course forward. So this constellation, this oscillation between the past, the present, and the future. Within African cosmology and other indigenous cosmologies around the world, time is not a linear construct. It is not from the beginning to the end. It moves about in a kind of circle so that there is an interrelationship between the past, the present, and the future. You don't leave one behind you and then proceed to the other. They come with you. They are always operating in a cyclical cycle. This is a look at my studio in Midtown Atlanta. It's always some kind of frenetic activity going on in there. You see a lot of tools laying around. There's some plaster, there's rulers, paper, X-Acto knives, there's printed images, drawings. This kind of, the studio for me is an arena of ideas and the execution and realization of ideas. It's a place of contradictions, beauty, also ugliness sometimes, symmetry and also asymmetry, a place of peace, but then also a place of struggle. So all of these things are being worked through within the context of a studio practice when you're wrestling with ideas and things that you want to bring into the world. Every artist has a statement about their work, the way that they envision their work, the things that are important to them. My statement reads, my studio practice investigates the ways that traditional African food staples serve as a conduit for ancestral memory and cultural identity throughout the diaspora, inspired in part by the popular Netflix series High on the Hog, which examined how African-American cuisine transformed America. I use sculptural form to reposition food production and consumption as an alchemy that satiates the body and the spirit. In this context, nourishment or sustenance has a double meaning that refers both to the corporeal and the incorporeal, just a fancy way of saying the body and the spirit, everybody, to this world and to other worlds. Food carries the promise of life as well as the seeds of multi-generational memory and cultural identity. It is a mediator of meaning, connecting the past to the present, the world of the living to the world of the ancestors. So this idea that food is not just, when we're partaking of a meal, we're not just consuming flavors and taste. We are somehow having an interaction with the community in which that food comes from. So the first time that I really had Persian food within the context of the Baha'i community, I was engaging not only with the rich flavor and the taste of Persian cuisine, but also in some sense I was having an interface with the history of Iran, of the Iranian people, of the Persian people. I was in some sense having an interaction with their stories, their narratives, so that there's much more that goes on with the consumption and the production of food. There is an exchange between the person doing the consuming and the history of the people who have brought that food into existence, into reality. Okay. The piece on the left is called The Oracle. It's a close-up. I'll talk more about that later. The Mende Sawi mask, I suppose that many of you who have been to museums, have been to the African and/or oceanic section of the museum, where they have many of their artifacts, some of which they acquired by legitimate means, many of which they pillaged from communities around the world. Africa, of course, as we know, was pillaged, their artifacts taken and put on display in museums around the world. The Mende Sawi mask is an example of that. The Mende mask, an extraordinarily beautiful mask that has a deep spiritual resonance for the Mende people. It represents the ideals of femininity and womanhood within Mende society and can only be touched or worn by women. The Mende people are one of the most progressive people on the continent of Africa when it comes to the equality of women and men. And here again, we hear an echo of the Baha'i teachings, because the Baha'i teachings, one of the core principles, one of the core spiritual laws is that women and men are equal. So this mask represents the ideals of feminine beauty within Mende society. As I said, I traveled with a number of people to Sierra Leone, many of whom were women, and I created this piece called the Womende series, which you see to the left side of the screen. These are a series of graphite drawings of the women who went with me, and the Mende mask, which has been silk screened on plexiglass and placed on top so that you can see through the mask, which is kind of has an opaque quality or a transparent quality, and you can look through the mask and see the drawing of the women itself. Beneath the women, I have also printed their American names or their Western names, and then the names that they were given when they finally came home to the Mende people in Sierra Leone and were welcomed with open arms by the community, many of whom said, "Welcome back, we have missed you." Close-up of some of these images. One of these people you may recognize, there's Dr. Joy DeGrew, who also has, she's in blue, who also has Mende roots. And the transparency image, as you can see, again, the ink has this kind of transparent quality that allows you to see through the Mende mask and to the person. What I'm trying to do here is to talk about the ancestral memory that exists, even for people whose ancestors were forcibly stolen from West Africa. There is still within the spiritual DNA trace remnants of their ancestry, of that cultural memory that never leaves, that cannot be wiped out, cannot be exterminated, cannot be beaten into submission. It still resonates with a kind of oral power. So this is a little bit of a dance to show you how the Mende mask is used in ritual within Mende society and outside of the static kind of formulation within the museum where it's only looked upon as being an object. So hopefully this plays, we'll see.
We don't have the music.
So if you notice, the entire body is covered with this kind of like, it looks like fibers. That's called raffia. It comes from a tree. And then this woman who's dancing with this mask on her head, is her entire body's covered. And that is meant to eliminate the individuality of the dancer, right? The physicality of the dancer, and to allow to almost create a hollow shell where the spirit can dwell, right? And again, we hear a reflection from this kind of philosophical or spiritual perspective within the context of the Baha'i faith. Our prayers, service, right? All of these things meant to diminish kind of like the forward, the centering of the ego, of the individual personality, and to create an open space for the Spirit of God to dwell within, right? We are trying to embody that spirit within ourselves through our actions, through the way that we interact with one another, through the way that we serve our brothers and our sisters, through our prayers, our reflections, and our meditation. So the practice is very old, this notion of being embodied, right? Of creating a space for the Spirit to dwell. And we see echoes of it throughout spiritual practice and spiritual teaching, through all the manifestations of God, the teachers of God, through all the religions of God, be they the major ones that we recognize, but also the ones that come from the indigenous people around the world. God's hand is reflective in their teachings as well. Okay, let me move up here. Go back to, there we go. So this is an image of an exhibition that I recently had at the Atlanta Contemporary Arts Center called A Sorcery of Sustenance. Sustenance, of course, referring to the consumption of food, how food sustains our physical being, and sorcery referring to magic, right? So talking again about the magical qualities of food production and food consumption, how this is not a mundane kind of action that that human beings partake of, but there is also something spiritual taking place within this process of production and consumption. This piece is called the rhythm section. As you can see, it looks very much like the earlier slide that we looked at where the women were pounding in those bowls. I basically created a piece to mimic what they were doing. And this piece is these three pestles, which are the pounding staffs. They're painted in African liberation colors. On the bottom part, which strikes the bowl, you see gold. That's kind of like a gold dust that I've placed within the bowl. That gives it this kind of nod to the magic and the sorcery of food production within the context of sustaining communities and serving our communities, right? So again, creating this space in this action, creating a space for the Spirit to dwell within and to participate in human activity. All of our actions should be informed by the presence of the Spirit. These pieces are hooked up to motors, and hopefully we can, it makes them move. Hopefully you can see that in this video that I'll share. So let me see here. I've got to update this because I have a new video for this. Let's see, here we go. Okay, let me log in. Okay. Okay, so here we go. So this will show you what it looks like when it's in action, when it's moving. Hopefully it'll move. We'll see. There you go. Okay, so let me get back out of this. There we go. Okay, got that. Okay, go back here. All right, so just this kind of, for me, this nod to this remarkable work that women do within the context of supporting their communities around the world. In particular in indigenous societies, indigenous communities, which are often overlooked or demeaned or dehumanized, particularly in the West. This work has a magical quality, a kind of a deeply spiritual, service-oriented work that is not just about the people who are participating in the practice, but also about the communities that they're sustaining. Another piece called Tapping the Root. When you get out of the cities, in particular in Sierra Leone and also Ghana, and you get out into the countryside, into what we would call the bush, which is Africa in many ways. It has existed for millennia. And you drive by some of the wooded areas. You see some of the trees have bottles attached to them. And in Sierra Leone, I noticed these bottles for the first time. And so when I got to the village, I asked them what these were for, and these are to collect the palm oil from the tree. And they ferment that palm oil and they turn it into palm wine, which is a drink that is consumed widely. So it's a very old practice that goes back generations. I was inspired by that, and I created this piece on the left called Tapping the Root, which is about 11 feet tall. It's carved wood, and then you have these ceramic pouches that are attached to nodules off the tree to kind of mimic that idea of collecting palm oil from the tree. It doesn't just refer to that literal physical translation, but however, it also has a kind of spiritual ancestral meaning as well, because we're tapping the root of our memories, of our history, of our cultural traditions, of the best part of ourselves, and bringing those things to the table. Oftentimes, when I have conversations about the Baha'i faith, the concept or the spiritual law of the oneness of humanity comes up, obviously because of the moment that we're living in, right? Where there's a lot of discord and tension between groups. And it's important to note for those people who might be on this Zoom call for maybe hearing about the faith for the first time, maybe the second or third time, to be clear about what we mean by the oneness of humanity. It's not a oneness based on sameness. It's not a oneness based on a kind of cultural universalism, but rather a oneness that is rooted in diversity, that in essence, unity is based on the dynamic force of diversity. So the best part of our cultures, of our cultural experiences that we have to offer, we bring that to the table and we offer that to the unfolding, the evolving narrative of humanity, this evolving oneness, the realization of the oneness of mankind that is rooted in diversity. And all of those things become part of this unfolding new identity that preserves the best part of our cultural identity, but also formulates and becomes something new. So again, here we have this concept of rebirth and renewal, right? Baha'u'llah, again, in the Garden of Rizwan, offering his revelation to humanity, this idea of rebirth and renewal. Hush Harbor for baby Suggs, we run to the rock. Some of you may know what a hush harbor is, but if you do not, it's very simple to understand. The word hush, of course, means quiet. So when I'm speaking quietly, softly, I'm hushing, right? And then a harbor is a place where ships go to park when they're coming in from a long voyage, or they're crossing a river or or a large lake. They come into harbor. Harbor is a place of safety. It's a place of peace, if you will, a place of security. So during the time of enslavement in the Deep South and also in the North, enslaved Africans during the day when they were working, they had to be very careful about the information that they shared amongst themselves, because they never could be sure who was listening. If the overseer, if the plantation owner was listening, and he could use what he heard against them to punish them, to constrain their movements. So late at night, enslaved Africans in different parts of the United States, in different parts of the Caribbean and Latin America, they would steal away or sneak away to clearings in the forest that only they knew about, places of convening where they could express themselves freely, where they could dance, where they could preach, where they could sing the spirituals, where they could speak in the languages that they remembered, even as those languages diminished over time, as the more time of their generation spent in America. the few words that they could remember, they would speak those words. So these would call hush harbors, places of safety where you could be more fully yourself. And then Baby Suggs is a character from Toni Morrison's immortal book, Beloved. And Baby Suggs was a person in that book who led worship services in a hush harbor amongst the slave community. So I created a piece that spoke about this reality, the importance of this kind of leader or preacher in these safe spaces. And so you have this plexiglass house. Plexiglass, colored plexiglass, is a reference to the church, because we go into sanctuaries or worshipful spaces, and particularly in places like the Baptist church and other Christian church services, they always had these stained glasses. So these stained glass windows. So I created this house form that looks like it has all these stained glass panels on it to reference the church. Then you have the rock, which is about stability, being stable, about something being solid, firmly rooted, right? And that's a representation of the person who's leading the worship service. And then you have the trumpet, which is a reference to Gabriel's horn in the Bible, being like a trumpet blast, right? That the voice amplified and speaking about the spirit and spiritual matters can act as a kind of like horn, a clarion call that can wake humanity, that can rouse us from our sleep and call us to a new way of being, a higher way of representing and manifesting ourselves in the world. The Rhythm and the Harvest, a piece that is very much about the combination of musicality and labor. You see the drum at the top of this piece, and then you see these kind of socks or these bags that have been dyed with different colors. And then they've been stuffed with crops that enslaved Africans would have harvested. You have rice, you have black-eyed peas, which comes from the western coast of Africa. You also have cotton here. You have tobacco, you have coffee grounds, and you also have Spanish moss, which comes from places like Savannah, Georgia Sea Islands, and the South Carolina Sea Islands. So all these things of the earth, which have historical resonance for the African diaspora, and labor being combined with rhythm. Africans, when they were working, doing the backbreaking work of picking cotton, of cutting sugarcane, of pulling on the tobacco leaf, they would do things like sing songs. They would hum, a rhythmic kind of way of passing the time as they were doing this backbreaking labor, a way of building community as well. I'm not here alone. We're together. We're doing this work together. We are suffering together. We're laboring together, and we're going to get through this together. So the combination of that physical labor and also rhythm, right? The drum, creating this kind of spiritual resonance, even in this dehumanizing circumstance, they are nevertheless creating a space for the soul to rise and have communion with the spirit, right? Okay, the drum we see over here, we see black-eyed peas again here, a sketch as I'm going through, as I'm having ideas about works that I want to do. I oftentimes have to draw them because I'll forget. There's so many ideas that turn over in my head. So this is an initial drawing that I did for this piece. It's important to note that the drum is not just it's not just an inert object that is occasionally pulled out to be played upon. Within the context of the African diaspora, West Africa, other parts of Africa, also in Native American traditions as well. The drum is a mediator of meaning. The rhythms that people played on the drum have a particular meaning. They weren't just sitting down there and riffing, they were communicating. So when Africans came to America through the corridor of the transatlantic slave trade, initially they were allowed to drum. Slaveholders would allow them to use the drum. But when they realized that they were communicating with one another, quite oftentimes over great distances, they got nervous and they confiscated the drum. And in the absence of the drum, that way of communicating, Africans invented other ways of communicating. So that's how we get the spirituals. That's how we get the gospels. That's how we get the blues. That's how we get eventually jazz. That's where hip hop comes from. That's where beat poetry comes from. All these musical forms are born, the roots go all the way back to the plantation fields in the Americas, and Africans having to find another way to communicate absent the drum. Okay, this piece is called The Black-Eyed Nkizi Nkonde, and Nkizi is a West African power object. It is used quite oftentimes to ward off evil spirits. It's the object that you see on the left. These carved objects they have nails driven into them. There's also glass mirrors. Other things are attached to the body. And people carry these with them. They place them in their homes. They're in different areas. And their purpose is meant to ward off evil energy from the community. I created an object to speak about that, but I wanted to add my own kind of interpretation of it. So you have the black-eyed Nkizi and Konde. The coil that connects these two objects is an automotive coil. And what this does is carry a charge from the ignition to the engine. So in other words, the car can't run unless you have this automotive coil within the car. So what we have here, from my perspective, what I was thinking about, is the connection between the spiritual and the physical. The black-eyed peas are the physical. They sustain the body, right? It's a reference to the food staples that come out of West Africa. And then this object on the left is a direct reference to the Nkizi. So this object meant to ward off evil spirits, the charge between the spiritual and the physical. African yams, just different points of inspiration. You see an open hand in the bottom right-hand corner with cola nuts. I don't know how many people know this, but Coca-Cola, its flavor comes from the cola nut. And when they founded the company Coca-Cola, they dropped the K and added a C. So cola nuts is the foundation of one of the most consumed beverages around the world. This piece is called The Conjurer. It is the sister to the close-up of the earlier piece, the kind of blue piece with the blue head that you saw in the beginning of my talk. The steel kind of armature around the head of this piece is based on a slave punishment collar. They would place these around the necks of the enslaved Africans here in America as a punishment if they did something wrong. They thought they did something wrong. As you notice, it would be very difficult for you to relax or to sleep with this on. They would leave this on for sometimes days, at the very least hours. People caught infections and they died as a result. And the head here is an African yam. So I've taken this idea of the African yam and I have reinterpreted as a head, as the seat of kind of like an ancestral memory. And then I've reinterpreted this slavery punishment collar and turned it into a kind of crown, a kind of instrument of ennobling, an instrument of kind of like of nobility, of dignity. So I'm transforming and reworking something that was meant to dehumanize and demean us, and turning it into something that is actually becomes the inspirational source of the brilliance that comes out of the Black American and the Black Caribbean community. Top right-hand corner here, you can see this is an actual example of, this is a 19th century example of a slave punishment collar. You can't cage my strut. Again, here we have the rooster. I bought this on eBay, just in case anybody wants to know. You can find almost anything on eBay. I found a stuffed chicken. I saw these pins here that you see. These were in Sierra Leone in the Mende village, and they're meant to go around like vegetables that people are growing. Also, chickens were kept in coops like this. So I created this kind of reference to that. This is a direct inspiration from that. It's inspired by this. But I'm using it here to talk about the incarceration of Black and brown men in the U.S. Penal system. So the rooster, as I said earlier, is about new beginnings. It's about resiliency. I created a jacket out of scrap pieces of waxed paper. And what I did was I silk screened the images of Black men onto that garment. And you have words that are tucked into the garment, like I am, and then on the other side it says we are. It's another piece called Okra Fly. Okra is a staple part of soul food diet here in the West. People go to soul food restaurants. They go to Black American kitchens, kitchens in the Caribbean and Latin America, Black households, and people are cooking okra. Okra comes to America, to the Americas, via the corridor of the transatlantic slave trade. We know that enslaved Africans oftentimes would bring pieces of their homeland with them, whatever they could carry. Women would weave rice into their hair. They would carry a kola nut, perhaps seeds for okra. And so these things come to America, come to the Americas, and they work their way into the diets, into the cuisine of this emerging culture, this new culture that came to be the African American culture. The quote is from Robert Ferris Thompson, who is considered to be perhaps one of the 2 or 3 preeminent scholars on African cultural aesthetics. He was a endowed professor at Yale University. He recently died. He was also a white man who had a deep love and affection for African culture, not as a kind of, he wasn't a cultural tourist. He wasn't he wasn't there wasn't this kind of like perverse fascination with Blackness. He just genuinely admired African and African diasporic culture. And so he became a scholar of African culture. And this quote is from him. He's talking about this union of this sensuousness of the body with the spirit. Coolness imparts order, not through aesthetic subtraction of body from mind or brightness of cloth from serious of endeavor, but quite the contrary, by means of static unions of sensuous pleasure and moral responsibility. So I've taken the ochre here. I'm treating it kind of like the garment that you saw with the Mende mask, where the woman was dancing, that raffia, that fiber. But instead of using that fiber, I'm using ochre to cover the body. And this piece called Ochre Fly, to be fly in Black vernacular, particular in America, is to be cool. It's to be hip. To be fly is to have this kind of balance between how one represents oneself externally and also how one has aligned oneself internally. This combination of the spiritual and the physical, this balance, this equilibrium. So that's what I'm pointing to in this piece. And all of these ochre pieces are made out of fired clay. So they are porcelain. So the piece is quite heavy, actually. It's a studio example of me preparing the okra after it's come out of the kiln. It's been fired. Now I'm drilling holes in it to create the garment. And the reference to the piece on the right, this piece, I think from the Dogon people in Mali, and you see the raffia that's down, that forms the garment, the body. This piece is called La Diosa del Sol, the sun goddess. This is the yucca plant that surrounds this drawing. The yucca plant is an example of reverse migration. It is a plant that is native to the Caribbean, but then finds its way to the western coast of Africa through a reverse migration across the Atlantic. So now it is common in many places in West Africa, but it begins in the Caribbean. This drawing is an image of my godmother, Jamila Kennedy, who's a wonderful, incredible matriarch here in Atlanta. A long-standing member of the Atlanta Baha'i community, and has taught more people than I can count about the Baha'i faith, one of the great teachers of the Baha'i faith. So I'm using the yucca plant here to kind of mimic sun rays or sunlight, and kind of encasing her within this constellation, transforming her into this kind of reference to the sun goddess, because I see her in many ways in her character and the way that she treats and loves people. This is a woman who, she taught at Spelman College when I was at Morehouse back in the mid-90s. And I didn't have a car. I was very poor. And I used to ride in her van with her. And this is a woman who would stop on the side of the road. She would see these poor Black women walking down the road carrying their bags. And she would say, "Hey, baby, you look so beautiful. I love the way your hair looks today. Come on, get in this van. Let me take you where you need to go." She did this again and again and again. And it was such a powerful lesson to me about how to see people, seeing the best in people, the beauty in people, calling that forward, and then offering to be of service to them. So just an incredible teacher. This is an example on the right of the yucca plant as they have now been glazed and they're ready to go into the kiln to be fired. And once they're fired, this is what they look like at the end. Everybody should know who this is. This is the great Nina Simone, the jazz soul singer, brilliant, incredible, beautiful, talented, and just an astonishing performer and poet. I created a piece called A Wishbone for Nina Simone in honor to her. This wishbone is carved in wood. It's about 36 inches tall, so it's very large for a wishbone. And then you see it has the word Nina, which has been printed on the wood panel beneath it. The wishbone is important because Nina Simone had a song that says, "I wish I knew what it was to be free." And this piece is created in direct reference to that song. Some derogatory images of people of African descent or caricatures of people of African descent in cartoons. Bugs Bunny on the right, and this other character from a newspaper advertisement. Just a quick thing about Bugs Bunny, because we all know who Bugs Bunny is. What you need to know is that Bugs Bunny, the character of Bugs Bunny, has roots to Africa. Bugs Bunny is based on a character called Brer Rabbit. Brer Rabbit was a character that an enslaved African named Uncle Remus, he used to tell stories about Brer Rabbit to the son of his enslaver here in Georgia. And the Brer Rabbit stories become the inspiration for Bugs Bunny. Brer Rabbit is a reference or a riff or a, how we can say, an improvisation or a direct reference to characters like Kompia Nancy. Kompia Nancy is the trickster god in some West African religious systems, particularly in Ghana and other places. Also, there are references in the blues, and you hear stories of guitarists in the blues going to the crossroads in the Mississippi Delta and selling their soul to learn how to play the guitar. Well, they say that in a lot of the mythology, they say that the person that the blues man met at the crossroads was the devil. Well, that's a lie. That is a lie that was created out of racist mythology. Actually, the person that they met at the crossroads was the trickster. And the trickster presented a set of circumstances. I will teach you how to play the guitar, but you also have to give me dominion over your soul. So the trickster asked us to choose. He meets us at the intersection of opposing forces and then asks us to make a choice. Not much different than in any religious system that you contemplate. We are always confronted with a series of choices, and God allows us to pray, to reflect, to meditate, to seek counsel, and then to choose. And then, of course, we have the ramifications, the repercussions, the outcomes that come as a result of that choice. So it's very ironic that these religious systems that the West, that European nations demeaned and determined to be derogatory and heretical, also had many of the spiritual teachings that they lauded and they talked about within Christianity, even as they were actively participating in the slave trade, as many Christian and Islamic nations were. This piece is called Soup Coolers. Soup coolers, I don't know how many people know what the term soup coolers means. Soup coolers is a comical term that was developed within the African American community, to take the pain out of this tropish notion of Black lips. This idea that Black mouths or Black lips were oversized, as we see here, right? That were bulbous and ugly. They look like gorilla lips or monkey lips. So what Black folks have done throughout history is to take these racist tropes and use humor to defang them, to take the poison out, so that we would not feel ashamed of our physical appearance, but would see the beauty in it. So soup coolers, which means basically, my father used to tell me this when I was a kid, boy, you sure got a full set of lips. You got some soup coolers on you. You could cool a whole pot of soup with one blow. So that's the comical term soup coolers, which is meant to defang the poison, the sting, the derogatory, the kind of the hurt behind this tropish notion of Black physical traits. I did this piece. I would ride the train and I would take photographs of people's faces, and then I created a mosaic of lips from various people that I met on the trains. Also, it led to some really interesting conversations that I had with people on the train. Image of a colorized image of people working in the cotton field, picking cotton somewhere in the Deep South. I'm not sure of the origins of this piece, but on some cotton plantation somewhere in the Deep South. This piece is called Grounded. If you notice, there are two main elements here. You have an airplane, and then you have a cotton picking field sack, which again, I got on eBay. It is vintage. It comes from the late 1800s, early 1900s. A person who was working as a sharecropper or an enslaved person before sharecropping would have had to fill this bag under the threat of punishment if they did not. This bag is about 7 feet long. Oftentimes you see pictures or images of little children dragging these bags throughout the cotton fields, picking cotton and stuffing their bags. You could be whipped if you did not fill a quota each day of the amount of cotton that you were supposed to pick. On the back of the bag, I have printed a quote from Isabella Wilkinson's masterful book, The Warmth of Other Suns, which tracks the journey of formerly enslaved Black Americans from the Deep South to the West to California, also to the Midwestern cities, Detroit, Chicago, and then to the Northeastern cities, Philadelphia, New York, Rhode Island, so forth and so on, looking for better working conditions in the immediate aftermath of slavery and the failure of Reconstruction. If you notice, there's a kind of tension between the airplane, which is covered in tar to mimic the black skin of Black bodies. The nature of the airplane is to take off, to fly, but in this context, it is weighed down by the injustice and the economic disenfranchisement of the slavery system and the post-slavery system. This is a piece that was done to honor David T. Howard, a formerly enslaved man in Atlanta, who built a school to educate Black children in Atlanta. I was commissioned to do this piece by the Freedom Parks Conservancy here in Atlanta. And what they asked me to do is to take one of the old growth trees that stood on the grounds in the 1800s and to use it and to create a sculpture. So what I did was, David T. Howard was a formerly enslaved person from Crawford County, Georgia in 1849. And after enslavement, he developed a business, and it was a mortuary business. You have to understand that generally, white morticians would not handle Black bodies. They thought it was beneath them. So it created a business opportunity for Blacks to get in and to have some economic opportunity and economic viability. So we saw many Black people, not an insignificant number, develop mortuary businesses. David T. Howard was one of them. And he was able to accumulate enough resources that he purchased several acres of land. And upon that land, he built a school to educate Black children. What I did was, friends, I went to the Alumni Association of the people who had formerly attended the school, some of them in their 80s, 90s, some of them in their 70s. And what I did was I did castings of their hands, and I turned their hands into branches that grow off of the trunk of the tree. The hands, the gestures reach back in the direction of the school that is situated across the street from this sculptural installation. Now there is a video. Well, let's go back. That's the next slide. See if I can find it here. Where is it? May or may not play, I don't know. Well, I thought I had a video here. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is a video to show you, what it looks like when it's on site, when it was installed. Okay, can I get you to play? Thank you. And as you see above the trees, this is the David T. Howard School, sections of the school that are as they were originally built earlier on, and then the renovated area to the far right. Okay. All right, let's get out of that. I think that might be it. Let me just double check. Oh no, we still got this one. So I did this piece. I was asked to do this piece by the Baha'i community near San Francisco in California. And it was to honor Robert Turner, who is the first Baha'i of African-American descent. Robert Turner was born into slavery. He went on to become a house manager, house butler for the Hertz family, which is one of the wealthiest families in America, near the San Francisco area in the late 1800s. And he also made a pilgrimage with the first group of pilgrims to the Holy Land, which is Israel, to meet and visit with Abdul Baha, who was the son of the prophet founder of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah. Robert Turner, who is a person who was born into the lowest social order, was deemed by Abdul Baha to be a person of great spiritual capacity. And Abdul Baha reportedly told him that if he was faithful to God's revelation, that he would be a door through which an entire race of people would enter the kingdom of heaven. So I created this piece based on that quote. The stone superstructure has this circular opening cut into it, which is about 4 feet in diameter. And so it's large enough for you to actually walk through if you crouch through. Children can get through it quite easily. And then you have this door made out of bronze with the image of Robert Turner. You must understand that most Baha'i memorials do not contain the image of the person that they memorialize. There's a reason for that. It is meant to de-emphasize the physical characteristics of the person and to focus on their soul or their spirit. However, within the context of this memorial, being the first memorial to honor a person of African American descent within the context of the Baha'i faith, I thought it was important that people of African descent, when they interact with this memorial, they see images of themselves within the Baha'i community. So it's a signal that this marginalized group of people, this dehumanized group of people, this people which was referred to by Derek Bell, the esteemed sociologist and social critic, as the faces at the bottom of the well, know that in this faith, that their great spiritual capacity, which Abdul Baha referred to as the pupil of the eye, the ability to see both the objective and the subjective reality, that in this faith, they have a seat of honor at the table, and they are held as equals, as bringing something remarkable and special to the table, and that indeed the forward progress of the human race is not possible without their contribution. So that's why his image is included in this design. An example of the piece being constructed at a metal foundry in California. I think this might be the last piece. Well, actually, this is a lot to talk. I don't want to talk about this piece. It's a lot to go in. I'd rather talk with you all. I think I've talked enough. So let me get out of this. Let me go back to, here we go. Let me stop share. Oh. Hopefully we can see each other again. Can everybody see me?
Wow, wow, wow. Of course we can see you. What a fantastic, beautiful, inspiring program, Masud John. Wow. I just wanted to read for you what a few people wrote for you. Barbara wrote, "Thank you tremendously for this highly inspiring, education-based talk. I am wholly inspired with new, important, and brilliant views on the use of the arts for justice and transformation. I look forward to the recorded video for review with deepest love." Amanda wrote, "What creative and meaningful artwork. Thank you, Masud, for sharing your heart." And she thanks her Baha'i friend, thanks to Nikki Vahid Salihan for inviting me to see this appreciated. Love, Amanda Smith. Dr. Etemad, dear Masud, don't know how to thank you. You are not only a genius, right? You are a great presenter, a fantastic, brilliant artist. I love the way you say prayers too. Thank you. Don't forget to say a prayer tonight, by the way. Catherine Phillips. Oh, Isabel. Oh, I'm getting so many messages. Your sharing made me weep and wonder. Mercy. Thank you. Thank you. Catherine, brother, I could get over being jealous of your esteemed work. very inspiring. I'm so glad to see befitting art for the POTE. Yeki Vahide Salehian, thank you so much for this amazing presentation. I learned so much tonight about slavery and your art that talks to our hearts. And some more. Let me get Gary first. Molly, could you wait? Gary always
No,
takes
I'll,
number.
I'll let
Gary,
Ma.
Gary, listen to me.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right.
okay.
Masud, I just want to thank you. I praise God for you because you, every time I hear a presentation, I've shared a room with you in ABS, I always imagine young children to have the gift of your presentations and what it would do to them. At my age, how it inspires me. For a little brown baby that this world has always told was nothing. To hear at 63 years old, you connect me to our ancestors. It's a physical, spiritual, tangible proof for me where God says he created me noble. I have a tangible, through your work, through your presentation, your love of Baha'u'llah, that I even know his name. So I say to these babies, these fragmented souls that this world has swayed that they're nothing. These kind of presentations washes all of that away and gives, I stand taller every time I hear it. And this is your love for Baha'u'llah. So I say Ya Baha'u'llah because that's the only sufficing word for me. Ya Baha'u'llah. And it's so appropriate to live the prayer that I offered first. Make me a hollow reed from which the pith of self hath been blown, that I may become a clear channel through which thy love. And that is throughout your work and everything you do. And so, Ya Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, man.
Masud John, let me read. Hoda John, please, please raise your hand, but I'm going to read this because this is so beautiful and it has black hearts. 1,000 thanks to you, Masud, for sharing just a few of your magnificent pieces of art. Thank you for infusing your art as an amazingly brilliant person, artist, actor, and writer. Can't wait for your book to be published. Please, Hodal, come up, let us see you. Alice, we love you. Let me ask Molly first, and then Alice, you're going to be the second.
Hi, Hoda.
Thank you, Hoda. Thank you, Azizam. Thank you,
Thank you, Masud. You lifted our hearts, every single one of us. He is just an amazing person. He's not just an artist, he's an encourager. He's a lover, he's a uniter. He's big on justice, and he's just pure art. His soul is artistic. God
Love
bless you.
you.
Thank
Miss
you.
you. Miss you, sister. Love you and miss you. Please
Miss
tell
you
your
too.
family I said hello, please.
I sure will.
I'm sure we have to give a lot of credit to to his grandma, but we'll talk about that a little later. Molly, go ahead, please. I'm sorry to make you wait. You have to unmute, Molly.
I'm so inspired by this program, and of course, Gary always touches my heart. But I was thinking, have you ever contacted Dr. Henry Gates Jr. of Knowing Your Roots? He's so dedicated in the appreciation of African roots.
Yeah.
And be awestruck by your ancestry history. And he's a wonderful contact, and he's really acknowledges the Baha'i faith. And also, I forgot the name, the professor at Harvard or Yale, the wonderful speaker.
You're speaking of Cornel West?
Yes, I love him so much.
Yeah.
And he had he is inspired by the Baha'i faith. In fact, he had a little he spoke on racial unity of the Baha'i faith, going some way back into Baha'i history. So if you can contact these people, they could do so much, I think, for the Baha'i faith and propagating the faith and bring it out to the public. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think all these are wonderful opportunities, of course. You know, I always get a little bit of, I'm a little suspect of old frameworks and the way that charismatic people who are held up to be, you know, quote unquote, the kind of spokesmen for groups of people. And I have tremendous respect for both Skip Gates and also Cornel West, tremendous respect. But I think every opportunity is an opportunity to share the love of God, God's revelation. And if I get an opportunity to speak with them, I certainly will do that. I have a lot that I can learn from them, and maybe they can get some insights from me. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know what God has in store, but I'm open, and I'll respond if that opportunity presents itself.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you so much, Molly. Appreciate it. Alice?
Good evening, Masud. I am not inspired by you. I am overwhelmed when I see I don't want to offend nobody, but you know I say what I gotta say. Everybody here know that by now. But I love to see my Black men standing up, doing what they need to do, and to encourage you in the Lord instead of people. Because people will put you on a pedestal and then tear you down.
Absolutely.
But I want you to be inspired within your own heart. It's a hidden word that Baha'u'llah talks about. God made everything for man, but he made the heart just for himself. So keep your heart to God and do the work. And I don't know where you know with screen and okra up the way you did it. That is how, well, in my Black culture, I just planted okra and I'm excited when I plant okra to see how you can get the okra to grow and eat off it 2 or 3 times a week if you plant enough of it. But the way you put that together, I don't know where you seen it scran that way when they dried out for seeds the next year. That is how you do the screen, put the screen through it, and you drop it and let it dry out for the next year to have the seed. And I would like to see you put that in your presentation about seed, because that is how our Black culture stayed afloat. That is how we ate. That is how the seeds was planted. You kept a corner of corn and you didn't eat that. You kept 2 seeds or 3 okra will make a patch of okra for yourself. You let the collard greens go up to seed and make seeds. I like to see you do that because the seed is the reason I'm here today. It's the seed that was planted and the seed that kept us alive, even in the Depression. I've heard white people talking about Black people that kept the seed from collard greens and the turnips and mustard seeds, how they kept them and we kept people alive, just like indigenous people did. They kept us alive by seeds, because I still save seeds today.
I've got a piece that I'll be working on that directly uses rice seeds. So I will definitely add that.
I'd like you to see the okra seeds. I'm just
what comes up.
excited about my okra coming up, Masud, because I just did save the okra and plant it.
Masud, Alice chants Amazing Grace like no one could in this world. Let me just, you know, Alice, I love you. Wait, because I heard that Van Gilmer is here. I'm sorry, it's a crowded place. Van, are you here? And when I call you, you don't respond? Van, where are you?
I'm here.
Hello, hello. Happy Rizwan. Happy
Hello, happy Rizwan.
I had a feeling there was a haunting in the building, and now it's been
Masud, be nice to me.
I'm laughing too, Masud.
Big bro.
She wants me to sing before Van Gilbert. Okay.
What
Good to hear you, big bro.
I guess
Good to
that's so much.
There we go. There we go. Good to see you, big brother.
Well, I came late, but thanks to Gary, who sent me a link, and I said, "What is this link for?" And I said, "No, let me look." And then I saw it was Masud. I said, "Oh, Jesus." I actually, you all don't know I'm kidding with Masud. I admire him. He is a wonderful example to all of us, really.
I'm trying like all of us. Like all of us.
And I'll tell you other stuff when we're offline.
Don't do that. I know what some of your skeletons are kept too now.
That's why I'm not saying anything.
Firuz John, sorry, grab for it before Van go. Van need to, he was today in the temple. You need to book him for the singing and closing prayer and sing. Van, this is Faride.
I'm sure Van recognized you. You know, I never search for words and I never get confused when we have firesides. But this fireside has touched me so much that I just don't know what is next. But Van, that was wonderful. Thank you for to be here. Thank you for supporting Masud. Masud is my son too. And also, I have friends here from other parts of Canada, and I'm very glad that Laureline and others who have joined us. With your permission, don't go anywhere. Van, don't go anywhere. I just
He need
need
to sing. He need to sing.
Absolutely. Can I get the questions and then come back to you, Van?
I don't know.
Van, don't go anywhere. Please stay because there are
Out tonight. A van is on.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to replenish my water. But I can hear you guys, so just keep going.
Okay. Come back soon, Masud.
I'm here. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
Okay,
here.
okay. Aniela, go ahead, please. Aniela John Azizam. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. This is a phenomenal example of how when the soul needs to explode with inspiration, how critical art is as a teacher. It is our first teacher. The word of God is art, beyond art, but the genius and the beauty of capturing the spirit of the Black experience, the enslaved experience, the sorrow, the beauty. I'm in my core changed. And if this is how we have to keep alive the true history of the Black experience, because we don't want to hear it in words. Well, guess what? You're going to get a higher genius in front of you. God bless you, sir. God bless you, protect you, have mercy upon you, so that you can continue this.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Aniela. Masujan, Aniela is my sister.
Oh, wow.
We don't look alike, but it doesn't matter.
Right, there you go.
Because you can be my son, but we might not look alike, you know?
In the Black community, we say a brother from another mother.
And anyway, in the Black community, we are high 57s because we got all kinds.
Yes, and I was also going to say mama's baby, but papa's maybe.
Okay.
Rebecca, go ahead, please.
All right, thank you. Hard to follow that. I've been to some of these lectures before. My dream will be to someday meet you in life and to see your work in real life, not on a Zoom. And I want to tell you that two pieces just struck me at the end, like just gobsmacked. And that was when you were showing Robert Turner's memorial and realizing the juxtaposition to the first door that you showed us, which was the last door to go through. The first door of darkness, and then coming through this second door of light, and how important it was, and that juxtaposition on this 12th day of Rizwan fills my soul with such hope that the promise of the oneness of humanity can be and will be fulfilled. So your work is what the woman just in front of me said, that there is a spiritual conversation that happens on such a deeper level than we're used to having. And you have been gifted by God to use that voice, and you use it well. And yes, God bless you for that, for fulfilling your purpose. And the other piece I really want to acknowledge you for, it's the beautiful piece behind you of all these women with the Mende mask, and not only explaining it to us, but I realized there's this incredible nod of this Black man honoring these women, honoring the mother and the cradle and the birth. And you touch me so deeply because these Black women and sisters, the healing from that will heal the rest of us. And the pupil of the eye will see again with in fullness. So thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. It was very beautiful. Appreciated, Rebecca. Thank you so much. Before I go to Koji, I wanted to read one from Hugh Smiley, the artist in Canada. I don't know if Masud, you know Hugh Smiley, but he said, "Thank you, Masud, inspiring, educational, articulate, and such grounded, thoughtful art process of communication." Tanya wrote, "I am fascinated with the idea of defanging or taking the poison out of the derogatory tropes. Can you think of any reference to this act in the Baha'i writings?"
Not specifically, because I think the Baha'i writings does something different. The Baha'i writings, well, traditionally in the African American community, the African Americans were contending with not only the kind of physical imposition of a racist white society, but they were also contending with kind of like this imposition of racial ideas, right? and the way that it could distort and pervert one's self-perception. And they were also forced to engage with a language that was foreign to them, which was the English language, right? Improvisation, which is at the heart of jazz music. Jazz music is based on improv. If you don't have improvisation, you do not have jazz music. It's the difference between jazz and like classical music. Classical music is based on strictly adhering to a framework that is, or a composition that is on a sheet of paper. Jazz music has a loose framework, and then the performers, they improvise off of that loose framework. Improvisation is at the heart of the Black experience. We have had to improvise since we were captured from our communities in Africa in order to survive. So part of that improvisation is expressed in the way that we use language. So it's a good example. If I'm having a conversation with you all right now, but if I'm hanging out on the corner with my boys from the neighborhood, that conversation is going to sound very different. And the words that I use are going to sound very different. The intonation in my voice is going to sound very different. And just by intonation, I can change the meaning of a single word and create duality. I can create triple meanings, quadruple meanings. If I say the word dope and I say it in a very bland voice, people say dope, he's talking about drugs. In one context, that it could be that I am talking about drugs. But if I say dope in the context of my boys on the corner, they're like, oh yeah, you're right, man, that was cool as heck. So you're taking the word dope, which historically has had a negative context, and you're transforming it, you're giving it a positive reinterpretation. You're reappropriating that word. In the same way, I would go back to the root of that. This improvisation starts with the perspective or the perception of Blackness in America. If you look up Roget's Thesaurus, which Dr. King referenced in his speeches, there are innumerable references to what Black means. All of them are negative. The black cat, the black lie, right? The black sheep of the family. And then you have these innumerable references to whiteness, and they're all positive. Purity, innocence, right? All of these incredible references. A white lie is better than a black lie. So Black folks, Black people, people of African descent, even when they came here and they encountered the language, they had to create a new way. They had to reinterpret this notion of Blackness in order to survive and to allow their children to have a new perception of themselves. So Black goes from a derogatory, dehumanizing marker to Black is beautiful. And then we hear in Baha'u'llah's teachings, the pupil of the eye, the Blackness of the pupil of the eye, that the eye cannot see without the darkness of the pupil. So we have, on the one sense, we have this, human beings, right, engaging in this creative, spiritual process of self-determination and self-affirmation. And then we have the revelation of God affirming that reinterpretation, that reappropriation, that redefinition, right? So you have this oscillating energy between what is going on in the corporeal and the real meaning the body, the corporeal meaning the spirit, and that oscillating energy between the two, right? And so for me, that is, I know I kind of went off on a tangent, but I think that question gets into a lot of, leads into a lot of the historical roots and the Black experience and the engagement with Blackness itself as a social, a spiritual, and a physical construct.
Thank you so very much. Friends, whoever new is in this call, if you want to be invited, please leave your email addresses in the chat. I left the link of YouTube, which will be uploaded in a few days. Koji, please go ahead. I'm sorry that, thank you for your patience.
I have to finish with the funny note, because when you were showing the your PowerPoint presentation and the part that they were showing African American lips, like exaggerated lips in their art and things. But now the irony is that the standard of beauty has changed so much that a lot of people are getting injection to look African American, to have African American lips.
Yeah.
So a standard of beauty has also changed. So, and different parts. So I think unconsciously a lot of people want to look African American.
Yeah. 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 It's interesting because this gets to, we have to also be careful about that, right? There is something quite beautiful about kind of like this evolving notion of beauty, but there has always been a binary relationship between Black people and the culture and the physicalness of our beings, how that manifests itself in the world. What do I mean by that? I mean that the culture in which we live oftentimes loves what we make, but not who we are. That there is an embrace of the music, of the way we dress, of style, of the way that we talk to each other, of the improvisation at the soul of our music and our worship style. But then there is a rejection of us as people. And the beautiful thing about the faith, right, is that there is an embrace of our inherent nobility, our inherent dignity, our inherent self-worth, which comes from God. In essence, you know, it's the difference between something that has intrinsic and extrinsic value. And Baha'u'llah affirms that people of African descent, as all people, have an intrinsic value that comes from the Creator, that we enter the world co-equal with the other members of our human family, and that what we bring to the table is uniquely our own, and it is co-equal with the other things that the other members of our family bring to the table. And an understanding that without that contribution, without a full embrace of our Blackness, of who we are as people of African descent, and I say Blackness because we haven't moved beyond, right, that binary. It is we know that the idea of race is a social construct. It's not rooted in science. Nevertheless, it has real world implications. So we have to contend with it, right? So that's why I use that binary of Black and white, okay? But I understand at the core, we are one human family. Nevertheless, the purpose of Baha'u'llah's teaching on the oneness of mankind is this full embrace of the best parts of ourselves, the way that culture is, the iterative process of culture, the best parts of our cultural identity, as well as an intrinsic and inherent nobility that each of us passes from the spiritual realm through the womb of the birth canal. You know, and that is part of how we were made. So we're made that way. And the Baha'i faith is an affirmation of that inherent worth and inherent nobility. So it in essence, it obliterates that binary between what we produce and then also this embrace of what we produce, but this rejection of who we are. The Baha'i faith, through the teachings of Baha'u'llah, is an embrace of all of those aspects of who we are. So anyway.
Amen.
Wow, we can have another fireside on this particular subject. Thank you so much, Koji, for asking, and Masud, thank you for this amazing reply. 919 South Carolina, welcome. I don't know who you are, but you're more than welcome. Please unmute.
Hello, this is Charlie.
Hey,
hello, hello, my friend, my brother from another mother.
There you go. That's it. That's it.
My brother from another mother. I just want to acknowledge the artistry of your voice because on the phone I can't see the pieces, but you explain them and describe them so explicitly that I see you. I don't even see the piece, right? And I know that when I pull this up on YouTube and I watch, that I'm going to see everything you said and more. And that's where the magic is for me. That we show up on all fronts.
Yeah.
In our language, in what we do with our hands, and what we do with our voices, and what we give in terms of our spirit. And thank you and happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. I love you, sister. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Masud.
Is this your birthday today?
It was the 27th, so it's not quite my birthday anymore.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Thank
Thank you Thank you for sharing this news with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Any more questions?
Illusion.
Jana.
Not only Van here and Roya Bowman, she's also heavenly voice here. We are lucky today. Grab them, everybody sing and pray. This is Rezvan, 12 of Rezvan. Baha'u'llah is happy. Ya Baha'u'llah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Van and Roya John, I'm just trying to.
And Gary.
And Gary is number 1. Excuse me. Gary was the one who called, yeah, Van.
Roya John, Allah.
And on Van Gilmore's shoulders, for the record, I stand on Van Gilmore's shoulders. Oh, no, I recognize who's in the room. I stand on his shoulders.
Vanessa, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. We love you, Vanessa. And Roya June, don't look down. You have so much to look up to. So, Van, why don't we start with you? And then, as a matter of fact, I have no idea what I'm doing. I have never had such a vital fireside that everyone is so rejuvenated. So why don't we ask Van to start, and then we have others. Please join in. But Alice will be the one who would do the amazing grace at the end. Alice, don't go anywhere as long as you know that. So Van, please start. Welcome, Riaz June and Seema June. Catherine Phillips, welcome, welcome, welcome. I wish we could see your face.
What is it that you want me to do?
What do you usually do? I don't want you to do anything that you don't do.
Oh.
You know what to do, Vance.
I'm very, very glad you joined us, Van, tonight. You know, you and Masud and the rest of the friends here, you have brightened our days. Thank you, thank you. Not only one day, but our days. Thank you.
Van, sing, sing.
All right, here it goes. If you desire with all your heart friendship with every race on earth, your thoughts spiritual and positive will spread. It will become the desire of others, growing stronger and stronger until it reaches the minds of all men. I'll sing it again. If you desire with all your heart friendship with every race on earth, your thoughts spiritual and positive will spread. It will become the desire of others, growing stronger and stronger until it reaches the minds of all men. You've got to find the source, my friend. It's not so hard to do. You've got to find the source, my friend. It's all left up to you. There is an answer. A new day is coming soon. You've got to find the source, my friend. Get your hearts and minds in tune. Don't be patronizing to me, my friend. And I'll try not to be suspicious of you. If you'll show me your genuine friendship, I will try to warmly respond to you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Ooh, there is an answer. A new day's coming soon. You've got to find the source, my friend. Get your hearts and minds in tune. Get your hearts and minds in tune. Get your hearts and minds in tune.
Thank you, Van. I have no words to thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know why Roya June is not unmuting, although I'm asking her to unmute. Laura Lynn.
It's here, Roya June.
Laura Lynn, if you would like to say a prayer, you can go ahead and use any prayer you wish. Please go ahead.
I don't have anything in mind. Sorry.
Okay, that's fine. You're always more than welcome to share these evenings with us.
Thank you.
With or without prayer, that's not important. Thank you so much. Roya June, go for it.
Thank you, Foruz. I'm always so happy to sing on any program that Van sings on. And over the last, I don't know, 35 years, we've sung on many programs together, and it's always such a blessing. Before I sing a prayer that he, in fact, set to music, I wanted to just drop a thought here, which I don't know if this was addressed earlier in the presentation, but it's interesting how often I find I have to remind people to not be colorblind, and how people still seem to think that being colorblind is a good thing. But, you know, it really isn't. It means if you don't see a person's color, you really don't see them, and you don't see their accumulated life experiences that come from being that color in this culture. So for those who still might think it's virtuous to be colorblind, I encourage you to reconsider that approach. So I'd like to sing the prayer for unity, which Van Gilmer set to music years and years ago. And I've had the blessing of singing it in so many places. And because it's among Baha'u'llah's most powerful words, truly. Oh my God, oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal to them thy great purpose. They follow thy commandments and abide in thy law. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, leave them not to themselves, but guide their steps by the light of thy knowledge, and cheer their hearts by thy love. Verily, thou art their helper and their Lord. Thou art their helper and their Lord.
Vanessa, if you feel like saying a prayer, my dear, please feel free, Vanessa.
See what I
Alice,
can find for you.
okay, thank you. Alice, don't go too far.
Let Alice go, and I'll look for a prayer. Okay.
Sure, sure, sure.
Amaze and grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieve. How precious did that grace appear, the hour I first believed, when we been there 10,000 years, bright shine in as the sun. We know less days to sing God praise than when we first believe. When we first believe. Glory to God. Glory. Yah Baha'u'llah. Ya Baha'u'llah Pa. Ya Baha'u'llah Pa. Glory to God tonight. Glory. Hallelujah. Thank you, Baha'u'llah. Thank you, Jesus. And I thank Baha'u'llah. I thank him tonight. I thank him tonight. I thank him. And we are one here tonight. Thank you for letting me experience this tonight. United in hearts and spirit and soul. Thank you. Thank you, Baha'u'llah. Ya Baha'u'llah Pa. Ya Allah Master God. Ya Baha'u'llah.
Ya Baha'u'llah. Ya Baha'u'llah.
Ya Baha'u'llah.
Prayer for humanity. O thou compassionate Lord, thou who art generous and able, who are servants of thine sheltered beneath thy providence, cast thy glance of favor upon us. Give light to our eyes, hearing to our ears, and understanding and love to our hearts. Render our souls joyous and happy through thy glad tidings. O Lord, point out to us the pathway of thy kingdom and resuscitate all of us through the breaths of the Holy Spirit. Bestow upon us life everlasting and confer upon us never-ending honor. Unify mankind and illumine the world of humanity. May we all follow thy pathway, long for thy good pleasure, and seek the mysteries of thy kingdom. O God, unite us and connect our hearts with thy indissoluble bond. Verily, thou art the giver, thou art the kind one, and thou art the Almighty. Ya Baha'u'llah.
Aloha. Easy prayer. Mr. Varga, he said this. It says, I repeat again. Aloha po, aloha po. Aloha po. Allahu Akbar. Aloha po. Aloha po. گویم مکرر الله اپا الله اپا الله اکبر الله اقدس الله اپا.
This is no coincidence, friends. This is the 12th day of Rizwan, and here we are gathered, one heart, one spirit, and prayers that I just ask God to just keep just filling us. Fill our cups, Lord. We lift them up, Lord. Come and quench this thirsting in our soul. Bread from heaven, feed us till we want no more. Fill our cups, fill them up, and make us whole. Fill our cups, Lord. We lift them up, Lord. Come and quench this thirsting in our souls. Bread from heaven, feed us till we want no more. Fill our cups, fill them up, and make us whole. Fill our cups, fill them up, and make us whole. Fill our cups, fill them up, and make us whole. Ya Baha'u'llah. Ya. Ya.
My God, all the angels showed up tonight.
Holy Spirit is in the room.
May Genus John wants to say a prayer. I was wondering if after that Masud John will say a prayer as well. Masud, I'm seeing that you're smiling, you see. So you agree. Go
Sure.
ahead, Genus John. Go ahead.
I wasn't planning to say a prayer, but I will do that for you, John. Anything for you. But before that, I just was going to say that I really came to just listen to a lovely fireside. But I'm feeling so energized right now by the talk and by these prayers. I just don't know how to express what I'm feeling. It's just such a beautiful, like immersed in a field of energy. Just thank you all for sharing those prayers, soulful prayers that just goes right into to our bones, to our spirits. So thank you. Okay, I'll say a short prayer in Arabic, I guess. سبحانك يا يا من هو يا من ليس أحد إلا هو سبحانك يا هو يا من هو يا من ليس أحد إلا هو.
Before man go, even I see him all the time in the temple, he should sing the last, it is Rezvan. About Baha'u'llah, Baha'u'llah, he's singing very good. Please, man.
Man, I'm so glad that I am not saying these things. And Faride is, so I am not guilty of anything. Well, Masujan will say a prayer and please you, if you could kindly finish with the prayer that that Her Majesty Faride Jun is talking about. Would you, Van, please? We'll listen to Masood first and then you. Masood Jan, go ahead, Aziza.
Can I please just ask? I have two requests. I beg you. I'm sorry. Number one, that Van is invited to speak at one of your other firesides on his own. He has so many amazing talks. I don't know which one he'll offer, but I would love to hear him give a presentation. And my other request is that Masood, please share, when do you think you'll be publishing your book? I've heard 2 pages of that book. The artistry and the way he strings these words are magical. It is going to be, it is so beautiful. I want to know, when is that book going to be published and what's it called? So those are my 2 requests. Thank you.
As far as the first one is concerned, Van Gilmore has been in our firesides before. It would be our absolute honor to invite him again. I'm leaving Canada to go to Haifa. I need prayers because I'm not feeling well. And I really, really need your prayers. And Van, when I come back in August, I will be in touch with you and you will start a new a new session for us in August. Would that be okay? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We love you, Van. You know we love you. Go ahead, Masud John. Go ahead, Aziza.
Yeah, so the book is called Mend, M-E-N-D. It's about it's kind of coming of age story in relationship to my mother, who passed away in 2007 and had a very interesting, complex, and difficult life. And it's in the hands of my agent. The book has been completed. She is working on selling it now. So that's the stage that we're in. The hard part, the first part is done for me, which is the writing, which I'm very happy about. And I promised my mother I would tell a story before she passed away. So it's a deep feeling of completion as far as that part of the journey is concerned. And then there's a whole another part of the publishing industry which doesn't concern me at the moment. That's my agent selling the book. So as soon as I have an update on that, I will let you know, Hoda. You'll be the first one I let know, I promise.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
O thou divine providence, bestow thou in all things purity and cleanliness upon the people of Baha. Help them, O God, in their endeavor, and grant them strength to serve thee. Guide them in thy path, purify their hearts, so they may be qualified to serve at thy sacred threshold and fit to be related unto thee.
Was there a specific song, or can I just sing a song?
He wanted you to sing the one who says, "Oh Baha'u'llah," in order to finish tonight the 12th day
Okay.
of Rizwan. We always say yes to her, you know, Van. No way to say no.
So are we are talking about Oh Baha'u'llah, bring us together in unity? Is that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Oh Baha'u'llah, oh Baha'u'llah, oh Baha'u'llah, bring us together in unity. Bring us together as one family. Oh Baha'u'llah, oh Baha'u'llah, oh Baha'u'llah, bring us together in unity. Bring us together as one family. We are all waves of one sea. We are all leaves of one tree. We are all flowers of one garden. Bring us together in unity. Bring us together as one family. Oh Baha'u'llah, oh Baha'u'llah, oh Baha'u'llah, bring us together in unity. Bring us together as one family. Bring us together in unity. Bring us together as one family. Please, please. Happy 12th day of Rizwan.
You all. What an amazing, amazing evening this was. Gary, that was very nice of you to call Van. You know, Gary, sometimes we do things and we don't know what the result of it would be. It was magnificent, Gary. We love you even more.
That's my big brother right there. I got to have him in the building. I got
And
to.
you know, he didn't say what it was. He just had a link. And I said, I don't know what this is, but I think I'll click on it. And there was Masud. I couldn't believe it. I haven't seen Masud and I don't know when.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry. I'm so sorry, brother. I know it was difficult to make the decision to be in this space. I know it was hard, but I appreciate
Yeah.
your perseverance.
And I see Masud is still black.
Y'all is a mess.
To my surprise, I've tried everything, brother.
And just for everybody to hear, this is one of the hardest times to think about.
Yeah.
After I've gone 60 years of integration in America, and to see what is happening to all of us, but particularly to those of us who are black. Can you imagine the stuff being done? I thought it was over. I thought it was over.
It ain't over.
It's not over.
It's not over.
it's
We got
so much work to be done. So much work to be done.
it's still we got Baha'u'llah.
That's right.
See, before we didn't have this faith. I didn't. I don't know about nobody else, but I asked God to give me more of him. And he gave me this faith. Nobody taught me this faith. God gave it to me.
Wow.
And so when I looked at a program and saw the Baha'i faith, I never looked back. I never looked back from the day I found it. I started taking the Ruhi class for 3 years before I became a Baha'i. I never looked back. Because this faith has something for us. No matter how you look at me, from the day I joined 2003, September the 27th, at a Black men's gathering, I didn't care who was doing what.
Wow.
This faith say, one, I tell all the Persians, I'm coming to your house, I'm having prayer at your house, I'm eating at your house, because Baha'u'llah say, I'm one. I don't care what y'all got to work on. I'm here. Black or no black. I am here because Baha'u'llah say I'm one. Now, y'all, I take it personal when I read Show the Offended. I take it personal. He said we are pathetic because we learn how to move away from God. I ain't moving. I know I'm not moving. I'm not moving. Y'all can say what you want to say, be who you want to be, but the faith is here and you can't do nothing about it. Baha'u'llah wrote it. You either gonna live it or get out. That's what my mama told me when I joined. She said, that ain't a faith to play with. This is a faith to come and do the work. It's written.
Alice.
Jesus said, it is written.
Well, I became a Baha'i 65 years ago. Now that's a long time.
That's all right.
So you see how long I've been.
You still here, Van.
And yeah, and I wouldn't want to go anywhere else.
Too. You come out of Washington, that Baptist church, you know. I know about you, baby.
Yeah.
I know about
Institutional Baptist Church.
I check you out. All right, come on. I check you out. I check your background, baby. So
Alice, can you hear me? Alice, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, Alice. I said, do you know how difficult it is to make korma sabzi? So you come anytime you want to come.
I will. All I need to know where you live. Now I show up. I'll show up. Don't be saying that. I knock on the door. Who are you? I'm Alice Mahomes from Detroit. You said I could come.
Friends, I
I
must
love you guys. I love you in spite of ourselves.
Alice John, wait. I just wanted to tell you that this has been one of the most powerful and impactful fireside that we have had in the past 6-7 years. Thank
I
you to
agree.
every single one of you. Masud John, my thanks first goes to you. Azizam, Mamnoonam, thank you. I have a feeling that when I speak Farsi, Masud understands and he smiles, so he understands. Van, thank you, thank you, thank you. When I come back in August, we will start with your fireside and the whole world will change.
Can I join the choir van?
Well, if you don't sing well, I will put you out.
Miss
But
Alice will make it.
for the Persian friends,
I did
let
my
me tell you something that I learned those 65 years ago. Now it may not be quite right, but listen, it's a prayer, so let's have a prayer.
all right.
Hovalla, Hodavenda, Galbe Sofi Chondora Taufama.